I'm going to talk about Gus first. Now, little Gus. Oh, again, one of these cases that we're looking at the moment, like the Nancy Guthrie case, Gus, Lily and Jack Sullivan, the cases that are ongoing that we've been looking at periodically from time to time. Because sometimes we look at older cases. Yesterday I put a video out about Dale Cregan, who was a guy in Manchester in the UK who killed 2 police women. I do other stories as well, but when I'm doing the ongoing stories, like the current crime, these are the cases that are really taking up our attention, aren't they? And with Gus, little Gus, to me, there's parallels with the Nancy Guthrie case for the simple reason, even though they're completely different countries, Gus Lamont, and he's only 4 years old. He went missing, didn't he, in Yunta in Australia, very remote part of Australia, and also his where he lived on a sheep station there that belonged to his family. Very remote, much more remote than where Nancy lived. But the parallels, I think, between Gus Lamont, this adorable little boy, and Nancy they're both, vulnerable for different reasons. So, of course, Nancy is in her 80s. So Nancy is vulnerable for her old age, if you like. She's been taken against her will. But Gus is vulnerable for his young age. He's only 4 years old. So Gus, we knew right from the beginning, he's been missing a long time, since last September last year. And we knew right from the beginning that he could not survive on his own, whatever had happened to him. So initially, it was said that Gus had been being looked after by one of his grandmas. We're not really sure which one, because that story seems to change. These are Gus Lamont's 2 grandmas. Now, one of them, Josie on the left, she was born a man and transitioned around about 10 years ago to be a woman. And that is her wife, or wife was, I presume they're still married. The other lady on the other side is Shannon, and that is Gus' other grandma. So Gus had 2 grandmas. When he went, it's not clear look after him when he went. It's not clear. I wonder if that's because the police have now come out and said there were conflicted stories about what happened that day. I wonder if part of the conflicted stories is which grandma was actually looking after him when he disappeared into a puff of smoke. So, apparently, according to whichever of these grandmas, I think they've probably conflicted that story, and that's why the police have got the other grandma, whichever one it was looking after his little brother. They sadly were split up. Josh was living a couple of hours away, living on this sheep station, remote sheep station in the middle of nowhere. Jessica was supposedly living there with her 2 mothers. She's got 2 mothers now, of course, because her dad had transitioned to a woman. So she was supposedly living there with her 2 mothers, Josie and Shannon. Little Gus, 4 years old. Again, I don't think it's really been made clear, where was she? She's been cleared completely, by the way. I just want to say the police have said that Josh and Jessica had nothing to do with Gus's disappearance. The police's attention is on these two grandmas, and they have declared them both suspects now. They've declared their suspects in the disappearance of Gus, who supposedly was playing a mound of sand outside the house in this sprawling sheep station, and whichever grandma it was that was looking after him said, I think they're saying now it was Shanann that was looking after him. So she saw him 1 minute. He was there playing on this mound of sand, and then 30 minutes later, this still gets to me. You don't leave a toddler for 30 in the house with you. You wouldn't leave them in another room alone for 30 minutes, because toddlers, they get into problems, don't they? They do all sorts of things, you know. You're just asking for trouble if you leave a 4-year-old alone. 30 minutes is a very long time. There's a lot can happen in 30 minutes. Anyway, this is supposedly what happened. Shanann left Gus playing outside for 30 minutes, and when she went back out, he said, but as I said, there's conflicting stories. In the beginning, I'm sure it was said that it was Josie, the transition, so many, you know, and I think that's maybe why the police have become suspicious, because the stories change after that. So anyway, there's been massive searches conducted on this absolutely sprawling sheep station. Just show you Yunta, just to give people an idea of the terrain. So how difficult it has been for the police to search for this boy. Even the searchers got lost on this massive property, and this dust flying up. You know, it's a very unforgiving terrain where he supposedly have gone his own accord. But really, it did look sort of beginning that it was unlikely that this little boy had just wandered off of his own accord. Just want to show, look, so this is from the Yunta website. It's quite an open terrain. I mean, there are bushes and things like that, you know, so but it's not like woodland or, you know, thick woodland, but it's huge, isn't it? And you know, this sheep station where Gus was living with his 2 Gmas and his mum and his little brother, this is the terrain that surrounds it. And it's huge, apparently, but it is bordered by fences, gates. So I think quite quickly they decided he could not have been abducted, you know, and the original premise was he would have wandered off. But, you know, they've searched for him everywhere. You know, they've done massive searches. They've been back again and again to search for Gus, and didn't find him. They found nothing. They haven't found any of the clothes. They found one footprint, didn't they? Which just seemed to me like it was perhaps planted there. I don't know. So suddenly, a couple of weeks ago, very dramatically, the police announced that this was a major crime in their opinion, that Gus was deceased. They had reason to believe that he was deceased. He had not wandered off. And initially they said they had one suspect, though they didn't say who it was. But what they did say was it wasn't the suspect and Josh, the mum and dad. So the police did say that. Said it was nothing to do with Jessica and Josh. Stated blah blah blah. But they said that they had a suspect whose story kept changing, or there was inconsistencies, and they led us to believe it was one. Now they've got two suspects, so I think we can safely assume that. Then, of course, there was the incident. Male reporter turned up to the house. She came out with a gun and was threatening the Daily Mail reporter. She later said she was just going to shoot a snake on the porch. Then, in a bombshell, really, Josie was arrested for having, not on unrelated charges, for having an illegal silencer or sound muffler. So obviously when the police have been there searching the house, have found this muffler, silencer, sound, that it's illegal anyway in Australia, and it fit one of Josie's guns. So they arrested Josie. She went down to the police station on her own volition. She was arrested, she was charged, and she's out on bail for that offence, but it's not to do with the disappearance of Gus, not, directly. But it did make me go cold, that, because, I want to think that whatever happened to Gus, because the police are openly saying now they believe he's still, that something happened to him, either an accident or deliberate act. And, I'm sort of desperately to hurt Gus, but, the longer it goes on and they're not, telling their secrets, giving up his body, I'm starting to think maybe it was deliberate, and this Josie, if she's told, and I'm just starting to think, did Gus upset her? And she just lost control. And why not just say what happened? Why did they cover it up if it was an accident? Accidents happen. Accidents happen. I mean, these women, they're in their 70s. This is their grandchild. So the thing is, because they've been deceptive, it makes you think then, and, with her having the silence there, act, is it a deliberate act? Maybe Gus got cheeky. Maybe made some comments to her about a transgender identity. Toddlers are little shits. They do say things. Do they? They don't have a filter for saying discreet things, and maybe she got angry. So the police believe that Gus is around this Oak Park station somewhere. He's there. They think they're going to find him, and the news, the update, if you like, is they've gone back again. So I think they're going to keep going back there. They keep putting the pressure on. They've probably got a plan of places to search. There's a huge area that they have to search. They can only do it a little bit at a time, can't they? So they've already searched out houses. They looked into part of. I know they've taken off now. You know, I don't know what the exact situation is there as far as be tracking Josie and Shannon's movements around that area, won't they? They'll be checking out everywhere where they. I mean, it is looking like looking for a needle in a haystack, but the police seem to think he is there somewhere. So they're concentrating their searches on where they live. Hi, Marg. Hi, Marg. Hope you're well. Yes, so they're concentrating on this property and the surrounding areas. So they seem confident, at least on the surface, that Gus is around there somewhere. And so none of Gus's clothes have been found. The hat is wearing. He was wearing. I think he was wearing a Minions t-shirt. So nothing's been found. Nothing. Nada. Not a trace of this boy. How can these grandparents? Can't imagine what the conversation is in the house in the evenings. You know, like I don't know. People just amaze, don't they? I mean, it'd be awful for an actor before your grandchild, maybe when you were looking after them. Of course, it would be awful. How could you then hide the body? Lie to the police and lie to Gus's mom, you know, your own daughter. Things that you don't seem even worth, you know, accidents happen and it'd be awful. But I think what they've done since then, lying to the police, etc., if they have, and the police think they have, that's even worse, isn't it? Even worse. You know, that little boy is out there somewhere. What have they done with it? You know, it just beyond belief for me. But anyway, so what's happened is, let me just read you the articles. They're returning. They've returned to the search property again. Now, they did say the last time that they went back there, they said they will constantly be going back there, that they will not stop. They will not stop until they find Gus. You know, they've made that quite clear. So let's have a look at the News Australia. Search for missing Gus Lamont resumes. The police are back at Oak Park Station. Let's have a look at this article. I hope they find something, you know, or that these grandmas come clean, you know. It's just awful, isn't it, to think that little boy lying somewhere. And the thing is, of course, it is like a needle in a haystack, literally, because he's just a 4-year-old boy. It's not a grown adult, you know, which is harder, isn't it, to hide a body. But a tiny little boy like that, you just think, God, he could be anywhere. I mean, they've got a task on their hands, haven't they? If those GMOs don't come clean, it's going to be hard work to find. But they're trying to make them crack, aren't they? So police have returned to the remote station where 4 months after his disappearance. Let's have a look at the videos. See if it works. Gosh. It's a virtually impossible job, but of course it's not. Look, sorry, it's whirring. Hopefully it'll come through in a minute. Sorry, it's whirring. Hopefully it'll come on. It doesn't like it. Come on. There you go. You should be able to see it now. I'm going to put it back to the beginning. It's just a short video to show you the terrain. So this video is from a while ago, but I think now they've decided he hasn't wandered off, so they'll be concentrating their searches around the properties on the land. Look at the dust, goodness me. You know, that's what even the search people got lost. Some of the search people got lost because they couldn't. So that's a hell of a place to search, isn't it? This is when they had the dogs out there. Oh, I hope they find him. God bless him. I hope they find him. He deserves to be found. He's a little boy. He deserves to be found. His mum deserves to know what's happened to him. These Gmails are just evil women, I think. So evil. Evil. It's bad enough when children get kidnapped or things happen to them, you know, from strangers. It's your, you know, the people that are supposed to care about you. You know, the grandma, and of course what they're doing to Gus's mum, and I mean they don't like Gus's dad, so they probably don't care about what he's going through, but surely they love their own daughter. The police, they've been everywhere looking for this boy, but now their searches are concentrated on the buildings, on Oak Park Station itself. Now, I presume they've got a plan. As I said, they've probably followed the phone data. They've been on the land, you know, vehicles that they've used. You know, they'll have mapped out. They'll have mapped out, won't they, the area, and they'll be. They said they'll keep going back, but they're not confident quick that they'll find, and they will keep going back until they do find it. So they're not going to let it go anyway, which I think is very good. But they're not going to let it go. Now, let me just carry on reading the. Shut up. So the search for missing 4-year-old Gus Lamont has again resumed, with police swarming the remote South Australian property where he was last seen on Wednesday morning. So That's sort of now they'll be doing it. Officers returned to Oak Park Station near Yunta with a police spokesman declaring the team would be searching several locations on the property for evidence in the case. Oh, bless it. And yeah, they are vile people, aren't they, Kelly? I agree. Just awful, horrible people. Selfish. Gus was last seen at his family's property at around 5 p.m. on September the 27th last year, 2025. And his disappearance triggered an enormous search involving dozens of police, rescue teams, volunteers who scoured the countryside. And now the search for Gus is being investigated as a major crime. The police revealed last month they had identified a suspect who was known to the boy but was not one of Gus's parents. And South Australian Police Commissioner Grant Stevens told ABC Radio Adelaide earlier this month that two of Gus's relatives were not cooperating with investigators. He said, "We're still working with Gus's mum and dad, and there are other members of the family who are no longer cooperating. We will be going back to the property. I can't say when. I can't say what the reasons will be. That's entirely up to the task force, but the work is ongoing." So they've probably just rocked up there. They won't be telling the fact. They'll have search warrants just in place now, won't they? So I think when they decide exactly where to search, it must be from some information that they've got. They're not, the trouble thing is they have to do targeted searches, don't they? So yeah, look at that. Oh. So he said that they've ruled out the possibility of Gus wandering off and getting lost. There has not been one single piece of evidence we've located during the searching exercise. The most extensive search, I think, arguably in the history of South Australia, that has given us any indication that he did wander off. And Gus's parents said his disappearance has been unbearable in an impassioned public plea issued last month. "We are united in our grief, and we are united in our search for answers about what happened to our little boy Gus, who means everything to us. If someone knows what happened, we are pleading with that person." She's pleading with her own parents there, "or anyone who may have seen or heard anything to please come forward. Even the smallest detail could give us the answers we desperately need. And we also want to express our deepest gratitude to everyone involved in the search for Gus." So, yeah, I think the rest of it just goes through what I've already said. So that's where we are. They're back out there. Let's just pray. I've been praying this morning that they just find out something. They find him. I just hope they find him, or that these horrible women crack. I don't know if they're in custody. They've not been charged with anything, Marg, so I presume they're not in custody. They're not on. Well, Josie is on bail for the firearm charges for having the silencer, but no, because they've not been charged with anything, so I presume they're not on that they're free to come and go as they want, I presume, but they'll be being watched, of course, I